It was a young boy that just graduated high school. He was looking for a summer job to hold him over until he went off to college. He read an ad in the paper, and it was kind of surprising to him because it was a local circus that was coming through. And it said it needed an employer, needed to hire somebody. He needed to be kind of athletic, and this young boy was. And he said it was a little bit of danger. And he sounded pretty interesting to him, so he went to the manager's door, knocked on the door, and he came in and he asked him about the job. And the manager told him, he said, our two biggest draws are a gorilla and a full-grown African lion. And we go places about 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And he basically said, our gorilla died, and we need a replacement. We have one on order. He'll be here in about 2 weeks, but we need somebody to come in. We have a gorilla suit, and what we will do is put you in a gorilla suit, make you up, and from about 5 feet away, nobody's going to be able to tell but what they're looking at a full-grown gorilla. And the guy thought, well, how much does it pay? And he said, it pays $100 a day, and you only have to do it for about 3 or 4 hours a day. And he said, I can do that, but you said it was a little bit dangerous. And he said, well, there is a lion in the next enclosure over. It's got a 10-foot fence, but stay away from that and you'll be okay. He said, I'll do it. Showed up the next day. People came around, and all he did was sit there and act like a gorilla. He would scratch himself a little bit and grunt a little bit. By the 3rd or 4th day, he started to notice that he got bored. And so the more things that he did, the more people that would come to see him. And so by the end of the first week, he was kind of having a pretty good time. And being an athletic young man, he would do a little bit of a back roll, and then he would do a front somersault, and people started coming out. And by the middle of the 2nd week, I mean, he was the talk of the town. People were coming out to see him, and they started throwing money into the cage. And so he really started getting creative. He would do a kip, and he would do a back walkover, and he would do all of these things that he could do. And then he moved some gymnastics equipment in, and he started doing some things on that, and the people were going crazy. Well, it was the last night before the gorilla was supposed to be delivered the next day. He was making $100 a night in tips. So he thought, I'm going to do something they've never seen before, and he moved some gymnastics apparatus into the cage. And all the town turned out, and he did all of these tricks. They were throwing money in there. He climbed up to the apparatus, swung out over the lion's cage and swung back, stopped, beat his chest, and hollered or grunted, and basically the people were throwing $20, $50 bills in there. He gets so excited, he swings out over the enclosure, forgets himself, lets go, beats his chest and hollers, falls flat of his back about 10 feet, nearly knocks himself out. When he looks up, there's not a sound to be made, and when he looks over, he understands why. Because not more than 3 feet away from him is a full-grown African lion. He knows the gig is up. He's going to have to holler. He's going to have to scream for help. Probably have to give all the money back. Might even be run out of town, but what else is he going to do? And so he opened his mouth to scream. But before he did, that lion pounced upon him, pinning him to the ground. He sees a big paw come down over his mouth, stifling what he was going to say. And he watches in horror as this head comes down closer and closer to him. And he looks eyeball to eyeball with this lion. And when he gets right next to him, he hears this voice say, man, if you don't be quiet, we'll both lose our jobs. In man's quest for life, for joy, many times we wear masks. A man might put on the mask of the adulterer or the immoral and think that he's going to find zest and joy in life there, or he puts on the face of the drunkard or the druggie. But invariably, when we do these things, we will find ourselves flat of our back, wanting to cry out, this is not life. This is not what life is about. And as our culture struggles with materialism and hedonism and humanism, Jesus calls back through the ages. Do you want life? You want to know what real life is about? I will show you what life is about. In John 17, the prayer that's called the Lord's Prayer, it's the longest prayer in the Bible. In verse 3 of chapter 17, Jesus prays a prayer and He gives a definition of eternal life. And you think, why would He give a definition of eternal life? Didn't He know what it is? Oh yeah, He knew what it is. But I think that Jesus would understand that people down through the ages, people such as you, and people such as me, would struggle with that question. What is life really about? Where can I find real joy and real peace and real happiness and real purpose in life? And so He defines it for us. And this is life eternal, that they may know Thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom You have sent. That's it. I hope you're not disappointed. But that is the purpose of your existence and my existence. It is to know God.